My son Dwayne thinks I do not know what he is doing. He thinks I did not see the car in the driveway last Saturday, the one with the magnetic sign on the door that said a name and the word realty underneath it in gold letters. He thinks I did not notice the man in the gray suit standing in my side yard with a little device, pointing it at my roofline, writing numbers on a clipboard. I noticed. I notice everything in this house. It is mine. I am 94 years old. I have lived in this house for 51 years. I raised 2 children in it, buried a husband from the front parlor of it, and I have never, not one single day since I moved in, needed anybody to tell me when to get up, what to eat, or where to sleep. I do not have a home health aide. I do not have a medical alert button around my neck, though my daughter-in-law has bought me 3 of them, and I have put all 3 in the drawer with the good napkins, the ones we do not use. And I am telling you this today, sitting here talking into this little camera my grandson set up for me, because I want you to understand exactly what it took to still be the woman making that decision about the drawer, and not a decision somebody else made for me. It started on a Saturday in March. Dwayne called ahead, said he wanted to come by and look at a few things around the house. I made coffee. I made the lemon pound cake he has liked since he was 9 years old. And when he walked in, he was not alone. There was a man behind him I did not recognize, holding a clipboard, and Dwayne said, real quick, real light, like it was nothing, "Mama, this is Gary. He is just going to take a few measurements, get us some numbers. No pressure. Nothing is decided. Nothing is decided." As if numbers taken on my roof without my say-so were a neutral thing. As if a man standing in my flower bed with a laser measuring my square footage was not, in itself, a decision. I let Gary do his measuring. I am not a woman who makes a scene in front of strangers. But when he left, I sat Dwayne down at the kitchen table, the same table my husband Leon built with his own 2 hands in 1974, and I found a manila folder sitting on it. Dwayne had left it behind, maybe on purpose, maybe not. Inside were 3 brochures: Cedar Brook Senior Living, the Magnolia House, somewhere called Serenity Point, with a picture of a woman on the cover who did not look one day over 65. Sticky notes on 2 of the pages, Dwayne's handwriting. Ask about the corner room. He had already picked out a room for me. He had not asked me one single question about whether I wanted a room. I found out later he had been building this case for a while, quietly, the way you build a case you have already decided to win. He had talked to Perry, my mail carrier, who mentioned I had asked him twice in 1 week what day it was. He had talked to Yolanda, his wife, who had noticed I had left a stove burner on low after Sunday dinner back in January. Little things, true things, some of them. But he had collected every one of them without ever once asking me a direct question about any of it. And by the time that folder landed on my table, he had already decided what all those little things added up to. I want to tell you about 2 women before I go any further, because I think about them almost every single day, and they are the reason I did what I did next. The first was my sister-in-law, Estelle, sharp as anything, ran her own tailoring business for 30 years, could add a column of figures in her head faster than I could find a pencil. After her hip replacement, she moved in with her son in Ohio. 18 months later, I called her on a Sunday, and she could not remember what she had eaten for lunch that day. Not because her mind had failed her, because for 18 months, somebody else had been doing all the deciding, and a mind that is not asked anything stops keeping the answers ready. The second was my friend Odell's wife, Marguerite. who used to run bridge games out of her living room every Friday night for 20-some years, feeding half the block, dealing cards with both hands while she carried on 3 conversations at once. She went into one of those places after a fall on her back steps. I visited her 4 months in. The television was on some program about house hunting, and she hated house hunting shows. Always had. Used to say they made her tired just watching people be that indecisive. I said, "Marguerite, there is a remote sitting right by your hand." And she looked at it like it belonged to somebody else and said, "Somebody will turn it if I ask." That was not the woman who used to run those bridge games for 20 years. That was a woman who had learned it was simpler to stop asking for things. 1 remote control and 1 meal tray and 1 folded blanket at a time, until asking was not even a habit anymore. Sitting at Leon's table with that folder in front of me, I understood something plainly. Nobody takes your independence from you in one motion. They take it the way water takes a riverbank, a little at a time, and they call every single piece of it kindness. I sat alone in that kitchen a long while after Dwayne left that Saturday. The cake I had made sat there with 1 slice gone. I want to be honest with you about what I felt, because I do not think enough people are honest about this part. I was not afraid of dying. I buried Leon in 1998, and I have made my peace with the fact that I will follow him one day, sooner rather than later at 94. What frightened me was something quieter than that. It was the thought of becoming a woman other people talk about in the 3rd person while she is sitting right there in the room. Mama is doing fine over at Cedarbrook. Mama likes the activities director. Mama, not Cornelia, not the woman who used to run a household of 6 on a seamstress's wage and never once came up short at the end of a month. So I made up my mind. If Dwayne was going to need proof that I could still run my own life, I was going to give him proof so complete there was not a number Gary the appraiser could put on it that would argue against me. There is a piece of this I had not told anyone, not even Dwayne, and I will tell you now. About 2 years after I buried Leon, I noticed something happening to my own mind that scared me worse than any appraiser ever could. I would walk into the pantry and stand there, forgetting entirely what I had come for. I would start telling Odessa a story and lose the middle of it, gone, like a page torn clean out of a book. I recognized that particular kind of losing because I had watched it take pieces of Estelle the exact same way. So before Dwayne ever brought Gary anywhere near my roofline, I had already started fighting for my own mind, on my own schedule, for my own reasons, long before anybody handed me a reason to. Here is what my mornings look like now. I do not tell you this to impress you. I tell you because it is the answer, and I do not believe in making you wait for an answer. I wake at 5:40, no alarm. Before my feet touch the floor, I flex them, 10 times each side, toes toward my nose, then away. My physical therapist, a patient young man named Mr. Ruben Castillo, taught me that one 2 years ago, and I have not skipped it since. Then I sit up, feet flat on the wood floor, no rug anywhere in this house, because my own mother broke her wrist on a throw rug at 71, and I have never trusted one since. I stand holding the edge of my sewing table. It is a Singer treadle machine, cast iron, been in this family since 1958, and I have sewn every curtain, every christening gown, and half the wedding dresses in this county on that machine. I hold its edge and do my balance work, 1 foot lifted, counting. I started at 6 seconds aside. I am up to 50 now. 50 seconds standing on one leg at 94 years old. When I told Doctor, Anand that number at my last visit. She actually put her pen down. After the balance work, I moved to the dining chair I keep against the front room wall, the same one since 1979. I hold the back of it and do 15 slow squats, not deep, just enough to remind my knees they are still on the payroll. Then heel raises, 20 on each side. Then I march in place, knees up, for 2 full minutes by the clock on the mantel. I finish by reaching both arms straight overhead, as far as they will go, because a shoulder that stops reaching for things eventually forgets how to, and once it forgets, somebody else starts reaching for you. The whole thing takes 20 minutes, some mornings 30 on others. Mr. Castillo built most of it with me himself, 1 week at a time, after I finally called and asked for help, instead of waiting for somebody else to insist on it for me. Then I walked the long way to the kitchen, through the hall, past every photograph on that wall, because every step is my body being reminded it still knows the job. I make my own coffee, grind it myself. I do not want a machine doing that thinking for me, and I eat sitting down at the table with a napkin in my lap, because the day I start eating standing over the sink is the day I have decided I do not matter enough to sit for. After breakfast, I do my handwork. I keep a tin of wooden clothespins on the counter, the old spring kind, and I open and close 20 of them, both hands, every morning. Mr. Castillo gave me that idea after I told him my hands had started shaking a little, reaching for jars. He said, "Miss Cornelia, if your grip holds, you catch yourself before you fall. If you catch yourself, you stay on your own 2 feet." My hands do shake now, some, but shaking is not the same as weak. These hands sewed 100 wedding dresses. They are not weak. I also keep the household books by hand, every bill, every dollar, in a ledger with a pencil, the way I have done it since 1962. My checkbook balances to the penny every month, and I want you to sit with that for a second, because there is no facility brochure on this earth that mentions whether the woman moving in can still balance her own checkbook, and I intend to keep it that way as long as I am breathing. There is more to the mind than arithmetic, though, and I do not want you thinking a ledger is the whole of it. Once a week, on Sunday nights before bed, I write an actual letter, pen to paper, to my oldest friend, Josephine, who moved to Atlanta with her son back in 2019, not an email, not a text message my grandson has to help me send. A real letter, folded into a real envelope with a stamp I lick myself. It takes me the better part of an hour to get 4 pages down, choosing the words instead of just letting my mouth run the way talking allows you to do. That hour does something for my mind that a crossword never could, because a crossword has an answer waiting for you at the back of the book. A letter to a woman who has known you 60 years does not. You have to find the truth in it yourself. And I read real books, the kind with weight to them, not the kind you swipe. I am currently 3/4 through a novel about a seamstress in 1890s Chicago who buys her own shop out from under a man who never believed she could. I recognized her before I was even 50 pages in. That refusal she carries. I have been carrying it myself for 94 years, and I intend to carry it a good while longer. There is a piece of this people tend to skip past, and I do not want to skip it, because I think it matters as much as anything I have mentioned. When you live alone at 94, you can go whole days, real days, without a genuine conversation. Not a call where somebody asks if you took your pills. An actual conversation about something. The mind needs language the way the body needs movement, and it goes quiet without it. the same way a room goes stale without a window cracked open. On Tuesdays, my neighbor Odessa comes over. She is 58, lost her husband last spring, still finding her footing. We sit 2 hours with coffee and talk about everything. Her boys, my grandbabies, what the neighborhood used to be before half the houses changed hands. Those 2 hours hold something up in me all week long. On Fridays, I walk 6 blocks to the senior center for a chair caning class run by a man named Curtis Odom, who is 71 himself, and treats every person in that room like their hands still have something worth making. Last Friday, a young woman named Denise, there picking up her grandmother, sat with me 20 minutes talking about a quilt her own grandmother left her. For 20 minutes, I was not a 94-year-old woman with a folder of brochures sitting somewhere in her son's car. I was just a woman talking about a quilt. 3 weeks ago, Dwayne came back. Saturday again. No Gary this time. I was in the living room doing my clothespins when he walked in and stopped in the doorway, still holding his keys. "How long you been doing that?" he asked. 2 years, I said, give or take. He sat down slow on the arm of the couch, like his legs had gone soft. "Mama, I did not know any of this. I thought you were just in here, getting quieter, getting smaller. I have had that folder in my trunk for 8 months because I did not know what else to do for you, and I was scared to bring it up straight, so I brought Gary instead." I put the clothespins down. I told him the truth. I said, "Dwayne, I am not getting smaller. I am working harder than I have worked in years to stay exactly this size, but I kept it from you. I let you sit 2 hours away in your own head, building a case out of fear, because I never once showed you the proof." He was quiet a long minute, turning his keys over in his hand. Then he said, "Perry told me about the day thing, the what day is it thing." And I said, "I know he did. And he was right to notice, and you were right to worry. But you should have asked me, Dwayne, instead of asking everybody around me." He nodded slowly, and something in his shoulders came down that I had not realized had been sitting up there for months. That was my mistake in this whole thing. Not the fight to stay independent, the hiding of the fight, like it was something shameful instead of something to be proud of. My grandson Marcus is the one who set up this camera for me, by the way, the same weekend as that conversation with Dwayne. He is 19, home from his first year of college, and when he heard the whole story, he laughed and said, "Grandma, you need to be telling people this, not just Daddy." I told him I did not have the first idea how to do that. He said, "I do." So here we are. Dwayne knows the whole routine now. The clothespins, the ledger, Odessa on Tuesdays, Curtis's class on Fridays. He does not manage me, but he calls Sunday nights now, and I tell him what I did that week, not because he is checking on me, but because a week you have told somebody about is a week that counted twice. Here is what I want to leave you with, because I think it matters more than anything else I have said today. Fear is the whole engine behind most of this, on both sides. Your children are afraid you are disappearing. You are afraid they are right. And a house full of that particular kind of unspoken fear will build you a Serenity Point brochure faster than any actual decline ever could. The answer is not stubbornness. It is proof. Get up. Do the work your body can still do. Do the work your mind can still do. And then let the people who love you see it, so their fear has something real to stand on besides guessing. I will tell you something else, and then I will let you go. I have buried a husband, a mother, and a baby brother who never made it past 40, and I have outlived more friends than I have fingers left to count them on. After a certain number of losses like that, some part of you wants to close up, wants to stop letting anybody else close enough to cost you something again. I understand that want. I have felt it plenty of mornings sitting alone with my coffee before Odessa's knock on the door. But a heart that closes itself off to spare itself grief is not protecting anything. It is just choosing a slower, quieter way to disappear, and I already told you I am not in the disappearing business anymore. I am not finished. There is a ledger to balance tomorrow, chair squats and heel raises before breakfast, clothespins on the counter, Odessa's coffee on Tuesday, Curtis's class on Friday, a letter to Josephine due by Sunday night, and a folder that has been moved from Dwayne's trunk into my own kitchen drawer, right next to those 3 medical alert buttons, because I decided I would rather keep it where I can see it than pretend it never existed. There is Marcus coming by again next weekend with that camera of his, and Dwayne's Sunday call, and the last quarter of that novel waiting on my nightstand. If somebody in your family has a folder like that sitting in their trunk right now, tell me about it in the comments. Tell me your age and where you are listening from tonight. And if this is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe, because I have got a great deal more to say, and I am not, by any measure, done talking.